These are 13 Claude Code tricks that most developers are not using. Most of you are just wipe coding in your terminal and are leaving so much on the table. Stop treating Claude Code like a toy. You set it up right and it runs like an actual senior engineer on your team. Some of these tricks come from Boris, the creator of Claude Code, and some I picked up the hard way using Claude Code every single day in all my projects. But all 13 are things most people have most likely not touched, but they are so powerful. So let's dive in. A huge shout out to Supabase for sponsoring this video. Did you know that you can control Claude Code also from your mobile phone? You can simply run the /remote control command inside of Claude Code, and that will kick off a session, and you will get a unique URL that you could use to then continue that same session on your mobile phone. First, you need to install the Claude Code app. Head over to the Code tab. You will see the active session that you just kicked off, and then bada bing, bada boom. So you could simply just start typing just like you would in your editor. All the context, files, and everything else is in fact still on your computer, but you can still control it on your phone. And if you type /config, you would be able to turn this on by default, and this is exactly what Boris shares as well. He has it on as default for all his sessions, so he could just simply continue coding on mobile. It's great for long-running tasks if you step away from your computer, but you still want to keep an eye on progress. You can review changes, approve PRs, and code directly from your phone. Now, isn't that amazing? The next trick is using plan mode aggressively. Before you start asking your agent to do whatever task you want to do, I want you to toggle plan mode. Straight to coding can produce the code that solves the wrong problem. You don't want to do that. With plan mode has 4 different phases: explore phase, plan phase, and then implement phase, and then finally commit. In the explore phase, Claude will read all the files and answer your questions without making any changes. Ask Claude to create a detailed implementation plan. Honestly, challenge Claude on their assumptions. If something is unclear, ask it to document everything. Then Claude will update all of that in a Claude.md file with all the instructions. Just like this example here, I wanted Claude to basically add clerk MCP to my application. I created an implementation plan to use the clerk CLI, because after that, it's pretty simple. Once it has done that, it has documented that in plan mode, every single model is now going to use that, whether an open model or a paid Claude Code model, doesn't matter. It is now going to pick that and has all the context necessary. So plan mode is incredibly important. Don't skip plan mode, because honestly, I have struggled a lot whenever I have not done so. The next one is using /goal. Lets you run Claude Code for a really long time. It turns your Claude Code's default session, turn it into a agentic harness that will run for a really long time. You would want to use /code and add plan mode. And this will allow you to plan a specific task. It's very, very useful whenever you want to run any complex tasks. Now, a lot of folks, even in the Codex world, are in fact setting a goal and running it for 3 days even. I'm not saying that we should do that. However, if you want to run a really long agentic harness, then this is definitely the unlock here. Loop and schedule are the 2 most powerful features inside of Claude Code. I have a dedicated video just on this topic, so definitely check it out if you want an in-depth guide for how to use these features. But these 2 are essentially game changers. With /loop command, you would be able to run a prompt or a command on a recurring interval. You just say /loop, specify the time, and then you could simply just run a command called babysit. This will allow you to auto address, code review, auto rebase, and shepherd PRs to production. At the same time, if you have something like Slack feedback, and you have a command dedicated to handle that, then it will automatically put up PRs for Slack feedback every 30 minutes. Whatever it might be, Loop will essentially run that on a specific schedule, which is honestly a game changer. Now, if I have this command loop 30 minutes, say hello, then it's going to schedule say hello to run every 30 minutes in this specific session. It uses the tool cron create to do so. And this is basically a cron job that it has created for us. Now, for example, instead of say hello, we have something like post merge sweeper command that will go back and clean up your review comments that you missed. And that's just something you want to run every 30 minutes so that it just goes through your history, goes through your commits, cleans it up, and then rebases it and opens PRs and so on. So that It's cleaning up production while you're not even at your desk, which is amazing. And this is just changing the Git history. But what if it has also interactions with your database? So the second your agent can touch your database, it can almost wreck it. So I made a whole video about an AI agent that almost deleted my production data. So trust me, this is not hypothetical. Go watch that video if you're interested. So you need a backend that can essentially say no. That backend is Supabase. Supabase is also currently sponsoring this specific video. They have Supabase MCP server that lets Claude manage your database directly, spins up tables, run migrations, query data, all from inside the Claude Code. But the part that makes it safe to let an agent loose is row-level security that I talk about in that other video as well. Row-level security, or RLS, means that your access rules now live in the database, not in your app code anymore. So even if your agent goes rogue and tries to run a command that it's not supposed to, tries to wipe a table it shouldn't, the database is just going to say no because of that row level security that we have set. And it literally cannot do the thing you did not permit. So that's the difference between like building a fun demo and something you can actually ship, and Supabase really comes in handy there. So autonomy is great, but autonomy with guardrails is what will let you sleep at night and run commands like loop or schedule or let an agent go rogue, because the minute you have to touch a database, the database is also well protected as well. The next command is grill me. Now this is a specific skill that will allow you to interview yourself relentlessly about every aspect of this plan until you reach a shared understanding. Now this specific grill with docs is amazing, that has been specifically released by Matt over here. And again, you can ask the questions one at a time, wait for feedback on each question before continuing. And if a question can be answered by exploring the code base, explore the code base instead. So this, again, drilling session that challenges your plan against existing domain model, knowledge, sharpens any documentations, updates it, and you name it. So install the specific skill and then use that as you add more code, plan a feature, architect, and so on. Knowing what your Claude Code consumption is, your data analytics, is extremely important. You need to analyze how much context gets loaded on every session, because if you think about it, whatever context that gets loaded in every session is how many tokens be consumed by your model. So you should know and be aware where it comes from. So you could literally ask Claude Code, analyze how much context is loaded on session start and where it comes from. This will allow Claude Code to tell you exactly what's going on. So again, it's going to measure all the context sources that loaded at session start, get you all the information, and then it is going to give you exactly what you need to identify token consumption and where we can optimize. Now I'm on the max plan, for example. However, a lot of folks are not, because they cannot necessarily afford it or whatever. Again, being aware about token consumption, which model to use, which model is smart, is incredibly important. So now, as you can see, for this specific repo, this is my token consumption. It is tiny, that's well under 300 tokens, but also this specific repo is not that huge either. This really helps me and helps me figure out what exactly I need to focus on in the future. This one, in fact, comes from Boris. Give Claude Code a browser and it will write the code and iterate until it looks good. We need to use the Chrome extension for front-end work, and this is the most important tip for Claude Code, is to give Claude a way to verify its output. Once you do that, Claude will iterate until the result is great. And again, this is one of the most important tips, because you need to think of it like asking someone to build a website, and that's what happens in a real flow too, right? We ask someone, as front-end engineers, we might review our work, verify in the browser, but instead of you doing it, we are going to get our agent to do so. And Boris uses a Chrome extension, Claude, in the Claude browser. Chrome extension, we could easily add that, and this itself will be our page debugger that we could use as well. This specific Chrome extension is extremely handy and tends to work reliably than other similar MCPs. The other very important trick from Boris is, how can you fork an existing session? A lot of the times we have a really long running conversation and we would love to fork that session and continue or give an agent a specific task, branch it from our existing session too. This is how you could do it. You could simply run the branch command from your existing session, and then from a CLI, you could just run Claude resume the session ID with the hyphen fork session. The branch creates a branch conversation and you are now in the branch, essentially. So it's as simple as that. Alongside that, a cute little one is /btw for site queries. Now, anytime we're typing something, but then we just want to say like, how do I say this thing? Or how do I spell something? Or what does it even mean? You don't want to add that to the existing agent's context as much. You just want to like use that for site queries. So you could just do /btw. And then you can use that all the time to simply just answer quick questions while the agent is focused on something else. You don't want to distract the agent altogether, and also add to agent's context too. So that is really cool as well, which is /btw. The next trick from Boris is using Git worktrees. Now, first of all, I don't think people really understand how Git worktrees work, because a lot of the times I've seen them use it the wrong way. Worktrees essentially allow us for doing any sort of parallel work in the same repository. Now, typically, if an agent is working on a specific task touching on the same files, what we would do, I guess, pre-Claude Code era was that we would create branches and then have those branches then create a pull request, and then different developers are working on different things and so on. With Git worktrees, it's essentially dozens of Claude code running at all times, and this is how to exactly do it. We just simply use Claude W to start a new session in a worktree, or hit the worktree, for instance. So if I'm in this session, I could just do Claude /-W, and then this itself is going to start a brand new session. I could just do Claude -W, and this will start a new session in a worktree, for example. And this is very beneficial, especially if you want multiple agents working in your Git repository for different things. This is one of my favorite tricks because I go for really long walks with my dog, and using the voice feature has been a game changer. And there are two options. First of all, if you are on your laptop, you could just use the voice feature to enable voice input. So instead of typing it all out, you could just use voice. Fun fact, Boris does most of his coding by speaking to Claude instead of typing, and so do I, because again, it's a game changer. Second, if you enable remote control and have the Claude mobile app, you could also go to your existing session and use the voice button to start talking to it as if you would to a friend. And that has been a game changer for me as well, because a lot of the times typing, I could get lazy. But when I'm talking to someone, it's like talking to a coworker. But if I'm using my voice, it's a game changer for me. So definitely use this by running /voice in your CLI. Configure your terminal for the best Claude Code experience. We would love to configure a terminal so that we can be the most productive as possible. In Claude Code, you could just run /config, and the minute you do so, you could simply just go through a variety of these settings to change however you want your editor to look like. So there are so many things you could do. Again, going back to config, we could also just toggle space. We could just go to theme and then say I want it to be light mode, dark mode, however we want it to be. I want local notifications, so I'm going to say iterm2, which is the terminal I'm using. If I want to enable remote control for all sessions, I could just say true as well. This way now, remote control has been enabled for all sessions. Whenever I have a session running, I will automatically see that in the mobile app as well. Again, there are so many different things you could do, so play around with the settings just to configure Claude Code, but these three are something that I highly recommend you to do. Now, when it comes to token consumption, you have to remember that you can run the model to pick your preferred effort level. There are three different levels: low, medium, and high. Low means fewer tokens but faster responses. Medium means balanced behavior. High means more tokens, more intelligence. So based on your task that you're working on, set the preferred effort level accordingly. Boris's preference is high for everything, which is amazing. Sometimes I don't need to use that many tokens, or I don't need that much intelligence. So in that case, I switch to medium as well. But again, just to manage token consumption. To do so, we could simply do model. And then we have high effort right now, but you could just change it to low effort, medium effort, and so on. I'm just going to keep high by default. And whenever I have a research-based task or something where I don't need as much token consumption, for example, Opus 4.8 is out and it can be very expensive. So I don't want to use a lot of tokens, have a balanced behavior that I could simply use medium level. If we go back to config, we will see something called as session recap. Anthropic shipped this recap as part of Opus 4.7. These are essentially short summaries of what an agent did and what's next. If you're not using the Opus 4.7 model and above, then you may want to turn this on because it's very useful when you're returning to a long-running session after a few minutes or a few hours. Since you have multiple agents working at the same time, it can also get very challenging. So definitely enable it by default so you can see exactly what a recap looks like. As developers, we all lose focus easily. We have so many things going on in our terminal. We have multiple agents shipping multiple things. So Boris's favorite way to ship things and get it done is for using focus mode. He's been really learning the new focus mode in the CLI, which hides all the intermediate work to just focus on the final result. The model has reached a point where I can generally trust to run the right commands and make the right edits. You can see that the model is progressing exactly how you want the model to progress. In that case, you could simply just toggle focus mode, and by doing so, you can just trust the model to do exactly what it's supposed to do. Again, don't get the model to ship in directly to main. I'm not there yet. I don't have that confidence yet. But you could simply use focus mode. We can simply go to /focus, and focus view has now been enabled. So whenever I say create a hello world page, for instance, we could also use /permissions to pre-approve and pre-deny bash edit, whatever. Now it's in focus mode. It's going to run all the commands and make the right edits, and I can just simply trust it. It's not going to be really verbose either, so that is very important. Now, there are quite a few Claude Code tricks that I have shared in this specific video. If you just want a list of all of them well documented, then check out the link in the description below where you can download a cheat sheet for all Claude Code tricks completely for free. That's 13 tricks. Even if you set up half of these in your Claude Code stops to feel like a chat box and more like a senior engineer on your team. So if you want to know where I lean the hardest, what is part of my AI coding tech stack, then check out this specific video where I walk through all the models, harnesses, and the glue that I used to code lately and how I've been running it really autonomously. Drop your favorite trick in the comments below so we can discuss further and help each other out. If this video saved your time, then make sure to like the button and subscribe to my channel. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.